I'm Matt with eTrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Yakima BedRock on the 2021 Chevy Silverado 1500. The BedRock is going to be a good choice for you if you don't want to get a roof rack, since that's going to be up front on the top of your vehicle and it's not going to be able to carry as much stuff since it has a lower weight capacity. And it's going to be a great choice if you don't want to invest in a ladder rack, since this is going to be at a lower price point than a ladder rack. And it's going to sit a little bit closer to your vehicle, so it's not going to take up as much room. But you're still going to be able to utilize the maximum amount of space for your bed. A system is going to be comprised of 3 pieces. So we're going to have our HD crossbars up top. Below that is going to connect to our towers. And then that's going to be secured down by our clamps. Now let's take a closer look at each one of those individually. Our crossbars are going to be HD crossbars, which just means they're going to be heavy duty and able to withstand a lot of weight. In our case, they're going to be able to withstand 300 pounds, and they're going to be 78 inches long, so they're going to fit very nicely on our vehicle. They're also going to have this weather strip installed on the top of it, and what that's going to help do is keep any debris from getting in there and help reduce wind noise. The reason why it's installed is to help protect our T-track, and that T-track is going to be able to allow us to put on any T-track accessories. And at the very end of our crossbars, we're going to have these anchor points. These are going to be great if you need to strap down any items. And taking a look at the bottom of our crossbar, we're going to have an additional track down here. That's mainly going to be used for putting on your towers, but you can put on any other accessories on the bottom, just in case maybe you wanted to put on a light system on the bottom so you can see a little bit better at night. And our crossbars are going to be seated on these towers, and these towers are going to be molded to fit our rails. So they're going to fit very securely. And on the back of them, we're going to have this clamp that secures to the back and underneath these rails. And they're going to be secured down by these locking cores, just for that extra security so no one can come by and take them off. As for how they're going to sit on our vehicle, they're only going to sit up a couple inches, to be exact, just a little bit under 3 inches. So they're not going to take up a lot of room for your height, so you're still going to be able to see from your back window a lot. Now if you have any accessories on the back, that's going to change just depending on what you have. As for how they kind of stick out on the side of a vehicle, they're going to be actually pretty flush, so that shouldn't obstruct anything. And as for how they sit inside our vehicle, now something I would be mindful of is how they fit underneath our rails, because sometimes you could have some obstructions underneath here preventing the clamps from going down. So you just might have to maneuver them a little bit. Whereas for how they stick out on the bottom, they're not going to take up a lot of room, so you should be able to put a lot of items in the back of here still. They're going to be constructed from aluminum with a black powder coat finish on it. Like earlier I said, they do have a weight capacity of 300 pounds, but if you are off-roading, then that's going to drop down to 180 pounds. And what that black powder coat finish is going to help do is kind of help it be more weather resistant, so it's not going to be as likely to rust, and it's going to stand up to the elements better. Overall, I think this is going to be a great option for you, since it's going to really help you utilize your bed, and it's going to have a higher weight capacity as opposed to your roof racks. Now, if you are looking at wanting to haul even heavier items and longer items, I'd look in at getting a ladder rack, because it's going to be able to accommodate those heavier and longer items on top of your vehicle. But if you still want to carry those longer items and keep your BedRock, I'd recommend looking into the Yakima long arm. It's just going to attach to your hitch back here and help you carry those longer items. As for how it installs, it was fairly straightforward, but if you do need a hand with that, just stay tuned and we'll show you how to do it. To start things off, we're just going to take a look at all of our supplies. So right now we only have half the stuff, since we already have the other crossbar installed. So first up, we're going to have our 78-inch HD crossbar. We're going to have our clamps, our feet, and our towers. We're also going to have some track adapters. We won't be needing to use those today since we don't have any additional tracks installed on our vehicle. We're going to have our 4mm Allen key and our 5mm one as well, as long with this included key. I recommend also grabbing a tape measure just to make things a little bit easier for yourself. First thing I'd recommend is kind of getting your crossbar set up. So I'm just going to grab it and flip it over so that the track is going to be shown on the bottom. And you'll be able to tell because it has these numbers, and inside this channel it has this bolt. I'm just going to grab our 4mm Allen key and unscrew that so I can take off this end cap. And once I get that taken off, that'll give me the ability to install my towers. So I'm actually going to install both of them from this side. So making sure that it's going to form an L like this, because we want to make sure that it sits against our truck rails or bed rails like this. So I'm just going to make sure everything slides in just fine. And then I'll install the other one the opposite way. And once I have it like that, I can just put my end cap back on and tighten everything back down. And then we can move on to the next step. I've already measured out where my towers are going to sit, so you might have to adjust that for whatever you need to do. Now when putting your towers on and securing them down, you're going to have to measure where they're going to have to sit so they fit on the bed of your truck. Since we've already installed our first crossbar, we already know the measurements. So you might have to go in and try a couple different times to make sure you know what fits. So I'm just going to push this over on our ruler that's on the bottom side of our crossbar and line it up to where I know it's going to fit. And when I tighten it down, I'm only going to tighten it down partially, just in case the measurements are slightly off, or maybe I might have miscounted something. That means I'm going to have the ability, when I do have it on there, to adjust it if need be. Before you get your crossbar up there, I just recommend kind of measuring out how far you're going to put that other crossbar. That's going to depend on what other accessories you have on. So in our case, we're going to do 32 because we have a lot of accessories that kind of need 32 crossbar spread. With that measured out, I can take my other crossbar and lay it across here. And if I need to make any adjustments, I can make that now. And once your towers are secured to your crossbar, we can move on to the next step. That's going to be getting our clamps on our vehicle. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open up these clamps just by lifting that up. And I like to make sure my foot is secured on here. And all you have to do that is just aim this hole and put it on top of this bolt, and it'll secure it just like that. And getting in here can be a little bit tricky the first time, but all you have to do is aim these hooks and line it up with these holes and push in. You might have to maneuver them a couple times so everything fits in just right. But once it does start fitting right, then you can start tightening everything down. With it in there, all you have to do is tighten this bolt on the bottom until it won't tighten any longer. And then after that, you'll be able to cinch this down with this. And after when you've installed the clamps, I just recommend kind of giving it a shake test. Make sure everything feels secured. Everything feels very secured. And then you can take it for a ride. If you liked everything you saw today, that was just a look at the install and some features of the Yakima BedRock on the 2021 Chevrolet Silverado.